Hi everyone! My name is Oktavia Fitri Rahmawati from class 184 with NIM 272-200-25137, Nursing Department, Health Polytechnic of the Ministry of Health, Surakarta. I hope you all enjoy my video and can learn something new today. Now, let's talk about one of the most important systems in our body, the urinary system. Did you know what a urinary system is? The urinary system, also known as the renal system or urinary tract, works as the body's filtration system, responsible for removing waste and maintaining the balance of water, electrolytes, and acids in our body as pee, or urine. The process of eliminating wastes from the body is called excretion. The urinary system excretes metabolic waste, drugs, hormones, salts, and water. To easily remember the function of the urinary system, we can use the acronym AWETBED. A, acid-base balance. W, water removal. E, erythropoiesis. T, toxins removal. B, blood pressure control. E, electrolyte balance. D, vitamin D activation. Now, let's move to the main organs of the urinary system. They are the kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, and urethra. The first organ is the kidney. Our body has two kidneys that look like oversized beans. They lie against the posterior abdominal wall and underneath the 12th rib. They're also retroperitoneal, meaning that they are posterior to the parietal peritoneum. The kidneys, which maintain the purity and constancy of our internal fluids of homeostatic organs, they work constantly, filter blood and make pee. Every day, the kidneys filter approximately 190 liters or 335 pints of blood, passing it through 145 miles or 225 kilometers of intricate tubes. Each kidney contains over 1 million tiny filtering units known as nephron, which are the real functional part of urine formation. Nephron is the filtration unit of the kidney that primarily lies in the kidney's outer region, or in the cortex, and loops from the nephron, however, deep into the inner region of the medulla. It consists of two main parts, the renal corpuscle, glomerulus and Bowman's capsule, where blood is filtered, and the renal tubule, including the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule, where reabsorption and secretion occur. The nephrons have several components. This consists of glomerulus. Blood flows into the glomerulus through the afferent arteriole, which is much larger than the efferent arteriole. Consequently, blood flows in faster than it can leave, which contributes to higher pressure within the glomerular capillaries. Each afferent arteriole supplies blood to one nephron. Then each afferent arteriole branches into a cluster of capillaries called a glomerulus, which function is to filter blood plasma. The walls of glomerular capillaries are dotted with pores, allowing water and small solutes such as electrolytes, glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and nitrogenous wastes to filter out of the blood and into Bowman's capsule. Blood cells and most plasma proteins, however, are too large to pass through the pores. Most of the calcium, iron, and thyroid hormone in the blood is bound to plasma proteins, which prevents these solutes from being filtered out of the blood in the glomerulus. The glomerulus is enclosed by Bowman's capsule, which collects filtrate by glomerulus. The fluid that has filtered into Bowman's capsule flows into the renal tubules. The amount of fluid filtered by both kidneys, called the glomerular filtration rate, GFR, equals about 180 liters each day, which is 60 times more than the body's total blood volume. The body reabsorbs about 99% of this filtrate, or 180 liters man and 150 liters woman. leaving 1 to 2 liters to be excreted as urine. Regulation of the glomerular filtration rate, key mechanism for maintaining blood pressure and therefore a steady glomerular filtration rate, is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. The chain of events that occur is a drop in BP leads to decreased blood flow to the kidneys. Specialized cells found primarily in the afferent arterioles, called juxtaglomerular cells, respond by releasing the enzyme renin. Renin from the kidney converts the inactive plasma protein angiotensinogen, made in the liver, into angiotensin 1. Then angiotensin 1 circulates to the lungs, where angiotensin-converting enzyme, ACE, converts it into angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 acts directly on blood vessels, stimulating vasoconstriction by constricting the smooth muscles in their walls. Angiotensin 2 also stimulates the adrenal glands to secrete aldosterone. Aldosterone causes the distal convoluted tubule to retain sodium, which leads to increased retention of water. Blood volume increases and blood pressure rises. Arising directly from Bowman's capsule is the proximal convoluted tubule, a winding, convoluted portion of the renal tubule. Thousands of microvilli that allow absorption to occur line the inside of the proximal convoluted tubule. The efferent arteriole leads to a network of capillaries around the renal tubules called peritubular capillaries. These capillaries pick up water and solutes reabsorbed by the renal tubules. Blood flows from the peritubular capillaries into larger and larger veins that eventually feed into the renal vein. Loop of Henle. The renal tubule straightens out and dips into the medulla before turning sharply and returning to the cortex. This entire segment, which consists of a descending limb and an ascending limb. Water diffuses out of the descending limb of the loop of Henle, further concentrating the filtrate. Sodium and chloride are actively pumped out of the ascending limb of the loop of Henle into interstitial fluid before passing into surrounding capillaries. The thicker wall of the ascending limb prevents water from following the sodium out of the tubule. Distal tubule and collecting duct. After returning to the cortex, the ascending limb coils again, forming the distal convoluted tubule. The distal convoluted tubule and collecting ducts reabsorb variable amounts of water and salts. Specialized cells within this part of the nephron play a role in acid-base balance, reabsorbing potassium, and secreting hydrogen into the tubule. Several different hormones help regulate reabsorption by the cells in the distal convoluted tubule, such as aldosterone, which regulates sodium and potassium, atrial natriuretic peptide, or ANP, which decreased blood volume and pressure, antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, controls water, H2O, and parathyroid hormone, or PTH, which respond to low blood calcium levels, reabsorb calcium, and excrete phosphate. The collecting duct receives drainage from the distal convoluted tubules of several different nephrons. The collecting duct passes into a renal pyramid where it merges with other collecting ducts to form one tube. That tube opens at a renal papilla into a minor calyx. The collecting duct reabsorbs water and concentrates the filtrate, resulting in urine. After that, we move on to ureters. The ureters are muscular tubes that transport urine from the renal pelvis of each kidney to the urinary bladder. Each ureter is about 25 to 30 centimeters long and enters the bladder at an oblique angle, which helps prevent backflow of urine when the bladder contracts. The walls of the ureter consist of 3 layers of smooth muscle, collectively known as the detrusor muscle, and an inner lining of transitional epithelium that allows stretching as the bladder fills. When the bladder fills, stretch receptors in its wall send signals to the spinal cord, triggering the urge to urinate. This process is called micturition reflex. The average bladder can hold about 400 to 600 milliliters of urine, but the urge to urinate usually begins when it contains around 200 to 300 milliliters. Next, we have the urethra. The urethra is a thin-walled tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body. In males, the urethra is about 20 centimeters long and serves a dual purpose. It conveys both urine and semen, but never at the same time. In females, it's much shorter, about 3 to 4 centimeters, and only transports urine. This shorter length is one reason why urinary tract infections, UTIs, are more common in women, since bacteria have a shorter distance to travel to reach the bladder.
Now, let's talk about urine formation process. There are 3 main stages. First, glomerular filtration. Second, tubular reabsorption. And the last is tubular secretion. In glomerular filtration, blood enters the glomerulus, where high-pressure forces water and small solutes out of the blood into Bowman's capsule. The resulting fluid, called filtrate, contains water, glucose, amino acids, urea, and salts. In tubular reabsorption, useful substances like glucose, amino acids, and certain ions are reabsorbed back into the blood through the peritubular capillaries. Most of this happens in the proximal convoluted tubule. Finally, in tubular secretion, additional waste products, excess ions, and drugs are actively secreted from the blood into the tubular fluid. This ensures that unwanted substances are completely removed. By the end of this process, the remaining fluid becomes urine, which is composed of about 95% water and 5% solutes like urea, uric acid, creatinine, and ions such as sodium, potassium, and chloride.
Now, let's look at the characteristics of urine. Urine is 95% water and 5% dissolved substances like urea, uric acid, and creatinine. It's normally pale yellow, slightly acidic, and has a specific gravity between 1.001 and 1.035. Next, the distribution of water in the body. About 60% of our body weight is water. 40% is inside cells, and 20% is outside, including plasma and interstitial fluid. Fluid and electrolyte balance ensures water and ions are properly maintained for nerve conduction, muscle contraction, and cell hydration. The normal blood pH is 7.35 to 7.45, maintained by the buffer, respiratory, and renal systems. These systems work together to keep our body in balance. So, that's a short explanation about the urinary system, a small but powerful network that keeps our body clean and balanced every day. In conclusion, the urinary system is more than just a pathway for urine. It plays a crucial role in maintaining homeostasis, balancing fluids, electrolytes, and acid-base levels so the body can function optimally. Thank you for watching my video. I'm Oktavia Fitri Rahmawati, and I truly apologize if there are any mistakes or shortcomings in my explanation. I hope this presentation helps you understand the urinary system better. All kinds of feedback, suggestions, and constructive criticism are very welcome, because learning never stops, right? See you in the next video. Bye-bye.